I tried to make white cheddar cheese from a kit.
Let's see what's cooking. Let's get the facts. Let's see what's cooking. It's time for Yo-Yo Max 12.
A Facebook ad for a cheddar cheese making kit popped up on my Facebook, and it's from Cheesemaker.ca. So I ordered it because I've always wanted to try to make cheddar cheese. The kit was $60. This is what it comes with, which is pretty much everything you need to make cheddar cheese. Very nice, detailed leaflet with all the instructions, with photos. All you really have to add is milk and some measuring cups and some water. So to start off with, you're going to put your milk in a large pot. It asks for about a gallon of milk, so I'm using 3 liters. That's what comes in our milk bags. And it comes with a little thermometer. You heat this milk up until it reaches 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you take it off the heat and you're going to add your cheese culture. This is the cheddar culture. Now, the kit costs $60 and it says it makes enough for 10 1-pound blocks of cheese. So you sprinkle that powder into the milk and then you gently blend it in by using an up and down motion with your slotted spoon. And then you're going to add in some calcium chloride. This is liquid. And you only use like a 1/4 teaspoon per batch. So you can see there's a lot in there to make several batches of cheese. And you're going to stir that in there. And then finally, you put the lid on, let it sit for a bit. And then you're going to add in your rennet. Now the rennet is the stuff that actually makes the cheese curds. And this kit comes with rennet tablets. I've bought the rennet before in liquid form. And as you can see, you only use a quarter of the tablet. So you can see there's quite a few batches of cheese in those tablets. And I dissolve that into some water and kind of stirred it around. Now I prefer the liquid rennet. It's just easier to use. It takes a little longer to get those tablets to kind of blend in with the water. Once it's blended in, you're going to pour it into the milk. And I had to recreate this because I did it and didn't film it. Then you're going to throw a lid on it and you're going to let it sit for between 30 and 60 minutes. Now it says to wrap it in a towel or put it in warm water bath that maintains your 88 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's what I did. I put it in my sink, as you can see, and with just some warm water just to keep the temperature stable. And after about an hour, when you take the lid off, it kind of looks the same, doesn't it? But actually, the curds have formed, so the milk fat portion of it has all kind of globbed together, and you get kind of something that's kind of like soft tofu floating on the top. And then this is the best part. You take the knife and you get to cut the curd into blocks. And this just looks really cool once it's all cut up, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So you're going to go in one direction and then another direction, cutting it into blocks. Now you don't realize how deep and thick these curds are, but I'm going to show you that as well. I've done cheese making before. I did mozzarella cheese on my channel, so you may want to go check that out. I'll put a little link in the top corner. They can click on the little eye if you want to check that out. Mozzarella is super easy to do. And there we go. Look at that. You see all the cubes? I just love the way this looks. So I just thought it looked really cool. So I'm giving you a couple of jiggles here so you can see all the cheese curds. Now what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to heat this again. And you're going to heat it until the curds and whey separate completely. Now the curds are the white part. The whey is that liquid that's in there. And as you can see how big they are. See how long they are? So that's the curds. Now you're going to gently heat and stir this until all that whey comes out of the curd. You're separating the solid and the liquid, basically, is what you're doing here. So as you're heating and stirring, the curds are going to break up a little bit. So you're going to heat the mixture and you're going to gently stir, and when you heat it to about 101 degrees Fahrenheit, this will take about 30 or 40 minutes. And they say that the curds are fragile. Be careful. Just do it slowly. And you'll see the curds will release a lot of the way. A lot of that liquid will come out and they'll kind of clump together. And you keep doing this until you do this test to find out if you're done. It says to grab a handful, squeeze your hand into a fist. And when you open your hand again, it should retain the shape of them clumping together. However, the test slowly rub the curd to see if they come apart and regain their original shape again. They go back to looking like the original curds, then they're ready for salting. If not, continue to stir for another 20 minutes. So I found that kind of hard to determine. I did the best I could, but it seemed to me they kind of stayed the same a lot. But you'll see in the end it turned out okay. Then you're going to put cheesecloth in a strainer and you're going to strain the curd. And you can see I used, my strainer's a bit small. Let it drain, and they tell you to stir it as you go because the curds start to fuse together, and they actually do start to clump together. So they just said to break it up as it's draining. And after a few minutes, we're going to ready to salt the cheese. Now this is very important. It says to start off with half a tablespoon of salt and then to work that salt into the mixture. And you're going to kind of break up the curds. You're going to wait 10 minutes and allow the salt to properly dissolve into the curds. And you can add flavoring at this point like whiskey, liquid smoke, jalapenos, that kind of a thing. And then you add your additional salt. They said to add 2 tablespoons of salt to this. And I was wondering if that was a typo because it seemed like a lot. And I actually contacted the online support, and I got a response immediately from somebody. And they said it was a matter of preference. Some people liked more salt, some people liked less. So I used about 1.5 tablespoons in this particular batch. Now this is the cheese mold, and as you can see it has holes in it. You're going to put the cheesecloth in there, and then you're going to add your cheese curds to your mold, and you're going to do that a little bit at a time, and you're going to press between each layer as you go. Now the cheesecloth, it comes with a package of cheesecloth, and they're telling you that it's reusable so you can wash it and then reuse it for another batch of cheese, which I suppose is possible, but I probably would just purchase more cheesecloth instead of washing and reusing cheesecloth because it's fairly cheap. So once all the cheese curds are in the mold, add the lid or the follower, and then you're going to have to squish this to get any more whey that's in the cheese out, and you want those cheese curds to come together. So you start off with a 5-pound weight on top of it for 60 minutes. I use I think it's the pestle. The pestle's the bottom part, and the mortar is the thing you use. I can't ever remember. In a can of soup. That was 5 pounds, 60 minutes. You take the cheese out, flip it over, and then you're going to put a 10-pound weight on there for about 30 minutes. And I used a jar of water, and my son went to college to be a machinist, so that's something he made as a sample in class. It was really heavy, so I threw it in there because he didn't care. And you let that sit, and then you have to put a 20-pound weight on top of it. Now this was the most challenging part because you can see the follower goes below the edge. So to get weight on there, you have to have a smaller weight and then larger weight on top, and it's hard to keep it stable, hard to keep it from falling over. So after your pressing is done, you take it out of the cheesecloth, and as you can see, it's made a nice little round of cheese. You're going to put this on a rack and let it dry for about 3-4 hours, at room temperature or in the fridge. I cut off a little piece that had kind of stuck out. That's because the follower wasn't exactly level. And then it's ready to eat the way it is now. Or you let it age for a bit. And they said if you want really old cheddar, let it age for a year. A medium aged cheddar, 3 or 4 months, that kind of a thing. So it comes with this really cool yellow cheese wax. You melt it, and then you coat it. Now the coating, what it does is it keeps mold from growing on the cheese because it's coated with the wax. And I think that it keeps it from drying out as well. So I covered it with all of that wax, and then I put it into a container and I put it in my refrigerator, and it says to put it in the warmest part of the fridge, so I put it in the crisper drawer with the lettuce and all that kind of stuff, and then I let it sit. 1 month later, there it is, 1 month later. I want to show you what it looks like. You could tell right away that after a month, the cheese curds, they were less crumbly. The cheese was less crumbly. And you could slice it quite nicely. And it tastes, to me, a lot like feta cheese at this point. It tastes like feta. I didn't detect any cheddarness, if that's a word. Didn't taste like cheddar to me. Tasted a lot like feta cheese, which I love, so it was okay. So I decided that I would put more of the cheese wax on that little cut there and put it back in the refrigerator and let it age some more. Also, they said enough to make 10 batches, but there's no way there's enough wax to do 10 batches. 3 months later. This is 3 months later. It's hard to tell by looking at this video, but the texture has changed. It's become more like a commercial cheese texture, smoother, a little bit more rubbery. There's no really any holes there. It's kind of become more of a homogenized, unified kind of a texture to it instead of little bits. It still tastes a lot like feta cheese. And I think that if you were to give a piece of this to somebody to try, I don't think they would say, hey, this is white cheddar. It was very good though, I didn't age it any longer because we ate the whole block. It was quite good. So if you're curious to know about my overall impressions and my feelings about this kit and whether it's worth it to purchase or not, I'm going to put all that in a comment below if you want to go check it out. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out my homemade mozzarella recipe, go ahead and click on your screen or look for the link in the description box below. Thanks for watching.